telling you, that's exactly what he said.
Oh, stop it. I can't believe that. You're making that up.
There is this persistent, almost romanticized image we all have of the golden years. It's the pharmaceutical commercial aesthetic. You picture the porch swing, the sunsets, the elderly couple holding hands, walking down a beach in linen pants.
Right.
There's this assumption that they've weathered all of life's storms together. We tend to think that once you make it past the turbulent 30s and you survive the midlife crises of the 40s, you're safe. You're in the clear. You have crossed the finish line of till death do us part.
It is an incredibly comforting image. It's the story we've been told about how the narrative's supposed to end.
Exactly.
It's the happily ever after,
Yeah.
but with, gray hair and retirement funds. But if you look at the actual data emerging right now, that porch swing is looking a lot emptier.
Or at least the seating arrangements are drastically changing.
Yes, exactly.
And that is what we are digging into today. We are looking at a massive social shift that is currently redefining relationships for people over 50. It's a phenomenon that sociologists who clearly have a flair for the dramatic are calling the rise of the silver splitter.
Silver Splitter. It sounds like a villain from a Marvel movie, doesn't it?
It really does.
But it's actually a very grounded and very significant demographic reality.
It really is. I was digging through the numbers for this deep dive, and frankly, I was floored. We always hear about high divorce rates, right? It's a cultural trope.
Sure.
But while divorce rates for younger couples are actually stabilizing or even dropping in some areas, separations for those over 50 have nearly doubled
Doubled.
in the past 30 years.
It's a staggering statistic. In the U.S. specifically, more than 1 in 3 divorces now involve people over 50. Think about that.
1 in 3.
1 in 3. We aren't talking about the 7-year itch anymore. That's for amateurs. We are talking about the 25 or 30-year itch.
And there's a specific term for this that kept popping up in the sources. It's gray divorce, which sounds a bit depressing, honestly.
It's descriptive, if nothing else. Gray divorce. And our mission today is to unpack why forever is being redefined.
Right.
We're going to explore why this is happening now. Look at the rise of the living apart together movement, which is a fascinating compromise.
So fascinating.
And we're going to look at the surprising and, frankly, counterintuitive science behind why singlehood in later life might actually be the healthiest option for some people.
We have a really diverse stack of sources today. We've got legal analysis from Russell Alexander on family law in Ontario. We have psychological studies from Bella DiPaolo in Psychology Today. Some really intimate relationship reporting from The Guardian, personal narratives from MSNOW, and even some heavy biological research from the Max Planck Institute.
We are covering the legal, the emotional, and the biological.
It's the full picture.
It's the full picture of a breaking system.
So let's dive right in. I want to start with the why. Why now? I mean, if you've been with someone for 30 years, you know their coffee order, you know how they chew their food, you've raised kids, you've buried parents, why pull the ripcord at 55 or 60?
Right.
It seems like so much work to dismantle a life at that stage.
To understand that, we have to look at what we're calling the finished contract theory.
Okay, let's unpack this, the finished contract, because that sounds incredibly cold and transactional for a marriage.
It does sound cold. But we have to look at marriage historically and structurally, especially for, say, the Boomer and Gen X cohort. For them, marriage wasn't just a soul connection. It was a project, a massive multi-decade project with very specific deliverables.
Deliverables, like a corporate quarterly report.
Essentially, yes. Think about the terms of that project. You build a home, you establish careers, you raise children to adulthood.
Okay.
You manage the household economy. These are tasks. They are social quests.
Okay, I see where you're going. It's a series of boxes to check.
Exactly. And by age 50 or 55, for many women especially, those quests are marked complete. The kids are gone or self-sufficient. The career is established or winding down. The house is managed. The project, for all intents and purposes, is done.
That is such a provocative way to look at it. Because if the marriage was the vehicle to complete those quests, and the quests are done...
Then the question becomes, why renew the lease?
Right.
If the contract was, we will raise this family together, and the family is raised, the contract has technically expired.
It reminds me of when you lease a car for 3 years and at the end, the dealership calls you and asks if you want to renew.
Yes.
And you look at the car and think, the transmission is slipping and it smells like old French fries. I think I'll walk.
That's a crude way to put it, but yes. I saw this analogy in the notes about the manager. It really struck me. It described a woman feeling like she has been the manager of the family project for 25 years. She's been the logistics coordinator, the chef, the emotional support animal, the scheduler.
Right. The CEO of the household.
Completely. And now, facing the next 30 years, she has a choice. Does she want to retire and enjoy her freedom? Or does she want to take on a new intern, her aging husband for life?
A new intern. That's harsh. You're saying the husband becomes the new project?
Often, yes. And we'll get into the health dynamics later, but the sentiment is real. A woman looks at her husband and thinks, I am done raising people. I don't want to raise you.
Okay, so the project is over. But surely people don't just divorce because they're bored. There have to be other pressures.
Oh, absolutely. The finished contract is the mindset, but there are 5 specific drivers pushing this trend. And the first one is simply longevity.
That's the irony, isn't it? We are living longer, healthier lives. You'd think that would mean more time to be happily married.
Yay, we get an extra 20 years.
Right.
Or, oh no, we have an extra 20 years.
Yeah.
That's the double-edged sword. If you're 50 today, you might realistically have another 30 or 40 years of life left.
Wow.
That is an entire second adulthood.
It's a long time to be miserable.
It's an eternity. If you were dying at 65, you might just grit your teeth and stick it out. But the prospect of spending 3 or 4 decades in a dynamic that is unfulfilling or boring or emotionally draining, that is daunting. It forces a reevaluation.
So longevity raises the stakes. What's the second driver?
Shifting norms. The stigma of divorce, even for older generations, has faded significantly.
Okay.
In the 1980s, getting divorced was a scandal. Today, it's a Tuesday. It's no longer a badge of social shame to be a divorcee in your 60s.
Right, your friends aren't going to shun you.
No. Half of them are probably in the same boat.
That makes sense. The social cost is lower. But what about the actual cost? I mean, money.
That's the third driver, and it's arguably the most critical enabler.
Yeah.
Female independence. Since the 1970s, women's participation in the workforce has surged. We are now seeing a generation of women hitting retirement age who have their own pensions, their own 401ks, their own Social Security.
They aren't trapped financially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They aren't financially tethered to a spouse in the way their mothers might have been. They can leave without fear of absolute ruin.
Right.
They might have to downgrade from a house to a condo.
Yeah.
But they won't be destitute.
Yeah.
That walkway money changes the power dynamic completely.
Which brings us to the fourth driver, which connects back to that finished contract idea. The empty nest.
The great revealer.
I've heard it described as the buffer disappearing.
It is a buffer. Kids are a distraction. They are a shared goal. They are a noise that fills the house. When they leave, that buffer is gone. You are sitting across the breakfast table from this person, and suddenly the silence is very loud.
Yeah.
The emotional distance that was hidden by soccer practices and tuition bills is suddenly exposed.
Yeah.
You look up from your toast and realize, I haven't actually had a conversation with you in 15 years that wasn't about the kids.
That is terrifying, just sitting there realizing you're strangers.
It's common. And the fifth driver complicates things even more. The complexity of remarriage. We have to remember that for the over 50 demographic, this isn't always their first rodeo. Many are on their second or third marriages.
And those are harder to sustain.
Statistically, yes.
Yes.
Second and third marriages have higher failure rates. You're dealing with blended families, yours, mine, and ours, finances, and different baggage.
Right.
The glue is often a little less sticky than in a first marriage where you built everything from scratch together.
So we have this perfect storm. We're living longer. We have the money to leave. The kids are gone, and society says it's okay. But here is where it gets really interesting to me.
Okay.
The gender dynamics. Because the narrative, the old cliched narrative, is the older man leaving his wife for a younger model.
The trophy wife?
The midlife crisis sports car and the 20-something secretary. But that's not what the data is showing for gray divorce, is it?
Not at all. That's a Hollywood myth. The data is quite clear. Women are initiating these divorces more frequently than men.
Why is that? Is it just the project manager wanting to retire? Or is there something more?
There is a deeper, perhaps more uncomfortable truth here regarding what we call the passive partner dynamic.
Okay.
In many of these marriages, men over 50 are viewed by their wives as becoming increasingly passive, or requiring management.
The new intern we mentioned. But hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here. Isn't that a bit unfair to men? Oh, he's just a passive lump on the sofa. Surely men are contributing.
Many are, of course.
Yeah.
But we are talking about broad sociological trends and perception.
Right.
The feedback from women in these studies is often that the mental load of the relationship falls entirely on them. They plan the social calendar, they track the birthdays, they manage the emotional climate.
Mm-hmm.
And as the man ages, he often leans harder on that structure rather than contributing to it.
So the woman feels like she's carrying the weight of two lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this leads us to the health paradox. This is something we really need to sit with because the numbers are stark.
Okay.
Marriage, statistically, is a great deal for men. Married men live longer, healthier lives than single men.
Right? You hear that all the time.
They have fewer heart attacks, less depression, better survival rates for cancer.
But for women,
It's a wash. Marriage has almost no effect on a woman's longevity compared to being single.
wow.
In fact, in some studies, it's shown to shorten it due to stress.
That is bleak. So men are literally surviving off the energy of the marriage, while women might be drained by it.
That is the implication.
Yeah.
And this feeds directly into what sociologists call the caregiver trap.
The caregiver trap.
This is a visceral fear for many women. They look at the actuarial tables. They know they are likely to outlive their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
They see their husbands aging, perhaps not taking care of themselves as well as they could, maybe ignoring the doctor, maybe gaining weight. And the women realize, if I stay, my golden years are going to be spent as an unpaid nurse.
That is a very specific fear. It's not just, I don't love you, it's, I don't want to change your dopers.
It is entirely rational. It's a major motivator to leave. They want to avoid that automatic role of unpaid medical staff.
Right.
They want to be a partner, not a caretaker. And if the partnership is gone, they aren't sticking around for the caretaking.
You mentioned women outliving men. I want to touch on the science of that, because one of our sources from the Max Planck Institute actually dug into the biology of this.
Yeah.
And it's not just that men do, riskier things like riding motorcycles without helmets. There's a genetic component, right?
Yes. And this is where we have to geek out a little bit on biology.
Let's do it.
It's the survival gap. Across almost all mammalian species, chimps, whales, even some rodents females, live longer.
Wow, okay.
It's not just humans. And a big part of it comes down to the chromosomes.
The XX versus XY, we learned this in high school biology.
We did, but we probably didn't learn the implications for aging. This is called the unguarded X hypothesis.
The unguarded X sounds like a spy thriller.
It does. But think of the X chromosome as a backpack full of essential survival gear. It has genes related to immune function, brain repair, cellular health.
Okay, so the X is the survival kit.
Right. Now, women have two X chromosomes. That means they have two backpacks.
Mm-hmm.
If the map in the first backpack gets torn, if there's a genetic mutation or a defect on one X chromosome, the woman's body can essentially reach into the second backpack, grab the backup map, and keep going.
It's redundancy, like having a spare tire.
Precisely. It's genetic redundancy. Now look at men.
Yeah.
They have an X and a Y. The Y chromosome is, well, to be uncharitable, it's a bit of a stunted little thing.
Okay.
It has the switch for be male, but it doesn't carry the heavy survival gear.
So if a man has a defect on his X chromosome?
He has no backup. He's stuck with the defect. His X is unguarded.
Wow.
This makes men more vulnerable to X-linked genetic issues, immune system decline, and general biological wear and tear.
So women are genetically built to last longer. They are the Toyota Camrys of the human race.
Yeah.
And men are the high-performance sports cars that break down after 50,000 miles. But it's not just genetics, it's behavior too.
Right, the lifestyle stuff. Women generally eat better. They visit doctors earlier and more often. They smoke less, drink less.
Mm-hmm.
They have stronger social networks. Meanwhile, men have higher levels of testosterone.
Which makes them strong.
It maintains muscle mass, yes. But testosterone is also linked to risk-taking behavior and, crucially, it can suppress the immune system and is linked to higher rates of cardiovascular disease.
I see.
Testosterone is expensive, biologically speaking.
So let's sum this up. If you are a woman in your 50s, you have the genetic advantage, the double backpack,
Right.
the behavioral advantage you see at the doctor, and the financial independence. And you're looking at a husband who might need a lot of care in 10 years because of his unguarded X and his bad diet. The math starts to look very different.
And that is why the caregiver trap is such a powerful repellent. It drives women to seek an alternative. They look at that future and say, I choose me.
But And this is key. Divorce isn't the only answer. Not everyone wants to burn the house down.
Right, and this is the part of the research I found most fascinating, the alternative.
Hmm.
It's called LAT, living apart together.
I love you, but your socks need to live at a different address.
I love that definition. It really captures the spirit of it.
It sounds like a celebrity thing, like Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter living in adjoining houses. But this is happening with normal people.
It is. LAT is defined as a committed, monogamous relationship where the partners maintain separate households.
Okay.
You are a couple, you're exclusive, you do the holidays together, but you do not live under the same roof.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate again here. Living apart together sounds great in a magazine headline.
Sure.
You keep the romance, you lose the dirty laundry.
Uh-huh.
But practically, it sounds expensive and frankly a little selfish. Isn't it just rich people avoiding dealing with each other?
That's the #1 accusation thrown at these couples.
Mm-hmm.
Selfishness or commitment issues.
Hmm.
But let's look at the logistics.
Okay.
You mentioned expense. You're right. Maintaining 2 households is not cheap. You have 2 rents, 2 heating bills, 2 Netflix subscriptions.
Exactly, in this economy.
It is a privilege, to some extent. But the couples in the study argue that the emotional cost of living together was higher.
Ah,
They're paying a financial premium to preserve the relationship.
so they're buying peace of mind?
They are buying the preservation of the spark. They strip away the domestic friction, the argy-bargy of daily life, and leave just the relationship. No fighting over who left the toilet seat up. No arguing about whose turn it is to empty the dishwasher.
We have some great case studies on this from The Guardian. Let's talk about Andrea and Leigh from Melbourne. They've been together 14 years.
14 years.
That's longer than most marriages.
And they have it down to a science. They spend weekdays apart, focusing on their own work and routines and weekends together. But my favorite detail about them is their ritual.
The TV thing.
Yes. They watch the same TV show at the same time, but in their separate houses.
And they text each other through it.
Yeah.
Hey, wasn't that funny? Or, can you believe she said that?
It's a way of staying connected without being in the same room. Lee made a point that really stuck with me. He said it keeps the spark alive.
Mm-hmm.
When they see each other on Friday, it's an event. It's a date. It's not just, oh, again, move over so I can see the screen.
But there is a downside for them. The commute.
The traffic on Hoddle Street, for anyone who knows Melbourne, that is a nightmare.
It is.
But think about what that says. They are willing to sit in gridlock traffic every Friday just to see each other.
That's a good point.
That proves the value of the arrangement. They'd rather sit in traffic than sit in a shared living room every single night.
Then there was Marina and Mark. This one felt a bit more about personality management, like an introvert versus an extrovert thing.
A little bit. Mark is an IT pro. Marina's an HR manager. Mark needs freedom for his hobbies. Kayaking, motorbikes, loud things.
Right.
Marina needs what she calls thinking time.
I relate to that so much. Sometimes you just need the house to be silent to hear yourself think.
Absolutely. And they take it to an extreme that might shock some people. They can go a whole week without speaking.
A whole week in a committed relationship. That sounds like a breakup to me.
To the outside observer, yes. But Mark says she'll always be #1. They don't need the constant digital tether. They don't need the good morning texts. But when they're together, the conversation is intense and nonstop. They save it up.
It's extreme quality over quantity.
Precisely. And then you have Lindy and Colin. This one touched on a very practical barrier. Messiness versus tidiness.
The eternal struggle. The odd couple.
Colin is messy. He has travel memorabilia everywhere, mismatched colors, clutter. Lindy is tidy.
Okay.
She has a beach aesthetic. He likes the city.
And they also have high-needs children involved, right?
They do. And that complicates the blending process. Blending families is hard enough without arguing about where to put the collection of souvenir shot glasses.
True.
But Colin said something that I think is the motto of the LAT movement. You can spoil a good relationship by moving in together.
That is such a powerful truth. How many relationships have we seen implode just because people couldn't agree on lifestyle logistics?
Many. It happens constantly. Moving in together turns a lover into a roommate. And roommates have friction.
But despite the success of these couples, there is still that societal judgment we mentioned. People think it's weird.
They view it as a failure of intimacy. The cultural script says dating, marriage, cohabitation, death.
Right.
If you skip the cohabitation step, people think, what's wrong? Does he smell? Is she
If
crazy?
you ever really loved him, you'd want to smell his socks.
Right. But the issue is a lack of a roadmap. We don't really have a cultural script for this. So couples like Lindy and Colin often question themselves. They ask, are we missing something? Is there something wrong with us?
When the answer might be, no, you've actually hacked the system. You've figured out how to stay in love without driving each other crazy.
Exactly. They've prioritized the connection over the convention.
So we've covered the people who leave, that's great divorce, and we've covered the people who stay together but apart, LAT. But there is a third path that is emerging. The people who look at the LAT arrangement and say, actually, can I just have the apart part?
The soulists.
Right. And this is the hardest sell, I think, because culturally, we are terrified of the old maid trope.
Oh, yeah?
We think of the spinster with the cats dying alone.
We do. We pathologize singlehood.
Yeah.
But the data shows that the old maid is actually having a much better time than the married couple next door.
I want to talk about Patty Asaye. Her story was in MSNLW. It's such a raw example of how this mental shift happens.
It is. Patty is a powerhouse. She was 46. She had just broken up with the man she thought she was going to marry. She's successful, she's wealthy, she has friends, but she's single.
Right.
And a neighbor, probably well-meaning but intrusive, asks her the question, why are you single?
And she crumbles.
She describes the ugly cry. I think we've all been there. Fetal position on the sofa, feeling like a total failure. She felt cursed. She felt that despite all her success, she was defective because she wasn't chosen.
But then she has this rearview mirror moment.
She does. She runs to her car, catches a glimpse of herself in the rearview mirror mascara running down her face, looking distraught, and she has this epiphany.
Yeah.
She realizes how pathetic the situation is. Not that she is pathetic, but that her self-worth was so tied to being chosen by a man that it was destroying her.
That realization. Validation must come from within. It's a cliche on Instagram, but it's a revelation when you actually feel it in your bones.
And she felt it. She decided to pivot. She realized, no one is coming to save me. I am my own savior. And instead of being terrifying, it was liberating.
Wow.
She started a TikTok channel at age 48, teaching financial literacy and decorum. She now has nearly 1 million followers.
It's the difference between being alone and being free.
And the science backs her up. This isn't just one person's anecdote. Bella DePaulo, a researcher for Psychology Today, has done extensive work on this. We need to debunk the sad singles stereotype.
Because the data says singles are actually growing more.
They are. Studies show that lifelong singles report more personal growth and autonomy than married people.
How do they measure that?
They ask people to rate statements like, life is a continuous process of learning, or I am interested in how my views have changed over time. Singles overwhelmingly say yes. They're constantly evolving.
And married people.
They're more likely to agree with statements like, I gave up trying to change a long time ago, or I am set in my ways.
Oof, that is telling. Marriage is a stagnation point.
It can be. It can become a comfort zone where you stop growing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're single, you are constantly engaging with the world on your own terms.
There was a massive study you showed me. 10,000 Australian women in their mid-70s.
Yeah.
Lifelong single women with no kids. Now, society and probably their mothers would tell you this is the saddest group of all. No husband, no children, 75 years old.
The ultimate old maids.
What the data says.
They were thriving. They were the healthiest cohort.
Where
They were more optimistic and less stressed than their married counterparts. They were more educated. They were active in social groups. They had a lower BMI, fewer smokers, fewer drinkers.
And importantly, they weren't a burden on the system.
That's a common fear, that single old ladies will drain the healthcare system because they have no one to care for them.
Right.
But the studies show they were more likely to have private insurance. They were self-sufficient. They had planned for their own care.
I think a big part of this is the social capital concept. We touched on it earlier, but can you explain why single people seem to be better at friendship?
It comes down to necessity and habit. This is crucial for understanding the loneliness trajectory. There is this curve regarding loneliness. We assume singles get lonelier as they age, but actually, married people see their loneliness levels double between age 60 and 90.
Wait, married people get lonelier? That seems completely counterintuitive. You have a built-in roommate.
Yes, but you often rely on that one person for all your social needs. Your spouse is your best friend, your travel buddy, your confidant, your dinner date.
Right.
If that person gets sick, or becomes distant, or develops dementia, or dies, the survivor is left with very little social infrastructure. They haven't flexed their friendship muscles in decades.
They put all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Lifelong singles, on the other hand, maintain a flat line of loneliness. It doesn't spike because they have spent decades building a diversified portfolio of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You have the brunch friend, the travel friend, the movie friend, the emotional support friend.
So if one friend moves away, the whole network doesn't collapse.
Precisely. Women in particular are excellent at investing in this social capital. Men. Traditionally, men invest solely in their wives.
So if the marriage ends or the wife dies, the man is isolated, the woman has a safety net.
Which is why the gray divorce can be devastating for men, while women often bounce back with surprising resilience. The women go to book club, the men sit in an empty house.
There was also a really interesting note about Black women in the middle class from sociologist Chris Marsh.
Yes, Marcia's work is fascinating. She challenges the idea that marriage is the only ticket to the middle class. We often hear 2 incomes are better than 1.
Which is mathematically true.
Mathematically, yes, but practically. Marsh found that for Black women, staying single and living alone is actually an effective alternative route to attaining middle-class status.
How so?
By avoiding the potential economic drain of a partner, if you marry someone who earns less or has debt, or if you go through a costly divorce, that destroys wealth.
Right.
By staying single, these women control their own assets. They avoid the marriage tax of a bad partnership. They build wealth independently and securely.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room, the money. Because as empowering as all this sounds, freedom, self-discovery, wind chimes, TikTok fame, divorce is expensive. You can't just walk away for free.
It is incredibly expensive. We have to be realistic. This is the financial reality check. Gray divorce carries the highest financial stakes of any separation.
It's as you have more to lose.
And less time to make it back. That's the kicker. If you divorce at 30, you lose half your savings, but you have 35 working years to rebuild. If you divorce at 60, you might be retiring in 5 years. You don't have that runway.
You're dividing pensions, retirement accounts, the matrimonial home.
And the home is the big emotional anchor. Russell Alexander, the Ontario family lawyer we looked at, highlighted this. The matrimonial home represents a lifetime of work.
Yeah.
The idea of selling it and splitting the proceeds can feel like erasing the past.
So for many, it's a choice between wealth and happiness. Do I keep the big house and the unhappy marriage, or do I take the condo and my freedom?
Or wealth and autonomy. Alexander
mentioned the importance of collaborative family law here. What is that exactly? Is it just mediation?
It's a specific process. In a traditional divorce, you sue each other. It's adversarial. I hire a shark, you hire a shark, and we fight over every spoon. In collaborative law, you agree up front not to go to court. You work with a team lawyers, financial neutrals, divorce coaches, to craft a solution that preserves the assets rather than burning them up in legal fees.
It's about not destroying the village just to save it.
Exactly. Because in a gray divorce, if you spend $100,000 on lawyers, that's $100,000 directly out of your retirement fund. You can't afford a scorched earth battle.
But even with the financial hit, women are still leaving. That's what strikes me. The price tag is huge, but they are paying it.
That leads to the economic happiness calculation.
How does that work?
It's a brutal calculation. As we said, men often need women for survival and care in later life. Women need men. Well, traditionally for economic support. But if the woman has her own pension, she only needs the man for fun, for companionship, for love.
And if the fun is gone?
If the fun is gone and the relationship becomes a caretaking job, the economic and emotional cost for the woman simply isn't worth it.
Right.
The ROI, return on investment, is negative. So she leaves. Even if it means having a smaller house or a tighter budget, she trades square footage for peace.
One source called it the demo version of freedom.
Yes. Being married but having your own hobbies is the demo version. You get a taste of freedom. But eventually, these women decide they want the full subscription. They want the premium package of total autonomy.
So what does this all mean? We've looked at the stats, the biology, the living arrangements. It feels like the standard model of marriage meet at 20, marry, die at 80 in the same house is just breaking down under the weight of modern longevity.
It is. The standard model was designed for a world where life expectancy was 65.
Right.
It wasn't designed for the 100-year life. The chassis can't support the engine anymore. We're seeing a diversification of intimacy.
A diversification of intimacy. I like that. Sounds like an investment strategy.
In a way, it is. You diversify your portfolio. Whether it is gray divorce, where people decide to start a second act alone, or living apart together, where people hack the system to keep the spark, or solo living, where people find fulfillment within themselves. The common thread is that people are prioritizing emotional fulfillment over convention.
They are rewriting the script. They're taking a red pen to the social contract.
They are. And it's messy, and it's expensive, and it can be lonely. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but it's also incredibly brave. It takes courage to look at a 30-year investment, a marriage, and say, this is no longer serving me. I'm cashing out.
It reminds me of the manager analogy again. A good manager knows when a project is failing or when it's simply finished.
Right.
And they know when it's time to move on to the next venture.
Exactly. And sometimes the best new venture is just yourself. Discovering who you are when you aren't someone's spouse, someone's parent, or someone's nurse.
This has been such an eye-opener. I think for a lot of listeners, this might validate feelings they've had but were afraid to articulate, especially that caregiver trap fear.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because the stigma is the enemy here. The more we talk about these options, LAT, singlehood, late life separation, the more normal they become. People shouldn't feel like they failed just because their marriage didn't last forever.
Forever is a long time. Maybe good for as long as it was good is a better metric.
I agree completely. Success isn't just duration. Success is quality.
Before we wrap up, we always like to leave our listeners with a provocative thought, something to chew on while they're stuck in traffic on Hoddle Street.
We do. And today I want to go back to that idea of the marriage contract.
Okay.
We asked earlier if marriage is a contract that expires. So here's the question for you, the listener. If you could rewrite the terms of your relationship contract every 5 years, instead of signing on for life, would you still be living with the person you were with today?
Oh, that's good. So every 5 years you have to actively renew.
Yeah.
You have to go to the office and sign the paper.
Actively renew. Not just default to staying because moving is a hassle. Would you sign the paper again today, knowing what you know now? And if the answer is no, are you staying out of love? Or are you just staying out of fear of the logistics?
Are you staying to avoid moving your socks?
Exactly. Are you staying because you love them or because you don't want to split the DVD collection?
That is a terrifying and liberating question to ask yourself. Thank you so much for this analysis.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.